I'm out here today at Dunn Creek Cemetery. Now, I've been out here before and videoed, but I come out here today to take a few pictures for Find a Grave. Now, I'm a member of Find a Grave, and on occasion people ask for photographs on different graves that are not on the website. Usually they're family members that just want to see where their people are buried, and one thing or another, they can't get to it. Now, I did find out that this particular Dunn Creek is one of the cemeteries that I adopted, so to speak. I think I've got about 15 of them that I adopted. If it comes up where a photograph is needed, I usually come out and take the photographs and post it. Now, like I said, usually it's family members that want this, but this particular person is just a researcher that I found out that, like I say, she just does research. I thought she may have been a family member because of a couple of the photographs that she had requested were part of my family that's buried out here. But come to find out, like I say, she is just a researcher, and she had found a newspaper obituary on one of my relatives and had put it on there. She requested photographs, but the photographs that she wanted I can't do, because even though they are buried out here, they are unmarked. And I have no idea. I have an idea possibly where they're buried at, but I don't know for sure where they're buried at. Now, the other ones that she requested was Faye, I'm going to call that Zan, it's X-A-N, Faye Zan Hutchison. Now, on Find a Grave, it's got Faye Zan Wilkison. So apparently she was married several times, I'm assuming, because on this it's Hutchison, but on Find a Grave, like I say, it is Wilkison. And the reason I say she may have been married several times is because the Jacob Sean DePettis, which was another one they wanted a photograph of, is her son that has a different name than Hutchison or Wilkison. So, anyway, I'm out here to take these photographs today, and when I was looking or whatever, I found out that actually Faye's mother has just recently passed away in the last month and has been buried out here as well. Now, her name is Mary Lynn Rowell. She does not have a tombstone. Like I say, she is freshly interred out here, but they do have a nice little marker thing here or whatever with a picture of her. She was born in 1948, and like I say, just recently passed away, and they've got a little picture of her there or whatever. She's a pretty woman. But anyway, I'm out here today to take a few pictures. Now, last time I done a video out here, I done it with my cell phone, and any of you that's ever filmed very much with a cell phone know that after a few minutes your hand starts to shaking and jiggling and all like that. And the camera I got now is a better camera. and it's got an attachment that goes around my back of my head. Kind of does like sunglasses in a way, and reversed. And it's got a gimbal on it or whatever, and it makes up for any shaking that goes on. And it's just a lot better experience for you and me both. Anyway, with the last name Rowell, I have Rowell blood in me, or whatever. My ancestors are. My great-grandmother was a Rowell. She's buried up in Green Cemetery up in Nassau County. And there's a couple of more Rowells that are buried over there we'll look at in a minute. And I often wondered if they were related to me in some kind of way, and come to find out they are distant relatives. We have common ancestors, about 6 generations or so, I don't remember exactly, but about 6 generations back, we do have common ancestors. There's a lot of different names down here. Cruz, Roberts, Lovelaw, Anzac, Hall, Brooker family is down here. I know quite a few of the Brookers. But this cemetery used to be known as the Wilkison Family Cemetery. Now, it took me a long time to find that out. My great-great-great-grandpa William Eli Stafford, who's buried down here, him and his wife, his mother's sister was married into the Wilkison family. The Wilkison family actually owned this property back in the early 1800s. And somewhere around 1930 to 1935, somewhere in that area, the name was changed to Dunn Creek Cemetery for one reason or another. I'm not really sure of that. But the records for Dunn Creek Cemetery only go back to about the early 1930s, I'll put it that way. But on William Eli's death certificate, it had Wilkison Cemetery. So I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything for a Wilkison Cemetery, and I couldn't find anybody that knew anything about a Wilkison Cemetery. I spoke with several ministers and some of the older people, and nobody knew anything about a Wilkison Cemetery. But I did find out that the Wilkisons owned this property back in the early 1800s, and they started burying their people back here. So back prior to it being Dunn Creek Cemetery, I'm sure it was called Wilkison Cemetery. Now, over here, we've got, in fact, there's some of the Wilkisons over there. We'll look at them on the way out. We're just going to make a little loop down here. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time down here today. Like I say, I just come down here actually to take a few pictures, but I figured I'd do a quick look around while I'm here. Now, this grave here is Mary Stafford Williams. Now, Mary Stafford Williams was married to my great-great-grandfather Walter Williams, and he's buried over in Eubanks Cemetery. Now, I often wonder why she's buried here and he's over there, but that happened more often than not. But probably the reason she was buried here was she was his first or second wife. I think his first wife. Now, my grandpa Walter was married many times. I don't know how many times. In fact, one of his wives is next door here. This Tyson Cemetery is next door. And I'm going to do Tyson Cemetery when I leave here. But one of his later wives is actually buried over here, and there's a little story behind her that I done on the last video that we'll talk about. But anyway, my great-great-grandmother Mary Stafford is buried here, along with her son and daughter, Jesse and Arnold Williams. Jesse died at a young age, 22 years old. What she died of, I'm not quite sure. And Arnold died at a young age. Both of them, one of them died in 33 and the other died in 34. So, I don't know whether, see, November and June, so about 6 or 7 months apart. So, for them both to be in their early 20s, die that close together or whatever, not quite sure. That might be something I want to look up in the future. But anyway, my grandpa Walter, like I say, he was married many times. I guess my brother took after him. My brother, I was counting up, he was married 7 times to 6 different women. He married his second wife, was also his 4th wife. So, for different reasons, one way or the other. People have a tendency, some people have a tendency to marry many times. But anyway, it is Confederate Memorial Month. Excuse me. And I actually should go around and do a memorial video. Excuse me. I should do a Confederate memorial video, and I've still got another few days in the month to do it. But anyway, this is Jonathan K. Roberts. Now, Jonathan Knight, which is what the K stands for, that was his mother's maiden name. She was a Knight. Her name was Mary as well. Mary Alford, actually. And she's buried in Swift Creek Cemetery over just south of McClenny. But Jonathan Knight Roberts was a private in the 1st Florida Cavalry. He was born in 1826, died in 1907. Through my research, my grandpa John was actually he was listed as a musician on his roster. And I always thought that, as a musician, maybe they had a band or something like that or whatever and all like that. But come to find out, if you were classified as a musician, that 99 times out of 100 you was a bugler. So apparently he was a bugler in the 1st Florida Cavalry. Now the 1st Florida Cavalry was assigned at least at one time to General Kirby Smith. And so I know they fought at Olustee, one of the bloodiest battles, and that's another thing. I may do that next week, being it's Confederate Memorial. Go over to Olustee or Ocean Pond and go ahead and do that video. I haven't done any in a while, and I have no excuse for not doing them. I just haven't been doing them lately. I got to get off my butt and get back into this again or whatever. Something that I enjoy doing, but I just kind of got out of for a little while. But anyway, like I say, his wife is buried over in Swift Creek Cemetery. That's a big cemetery. Me and my mother and my uncle went over there last summer, and it was really hot. And it's a huge cemetery. Actually, it's a graveyard because it's next to a church. But it's huge. If you was to take these two cemeteries here and put them together and double them or triple them, it's huge. It's probably got, I don't know, it might have 1,000 graves in it. It's a big one. But anyway, I didn't find her grave while I was over there, and I need to go back and find it. Now, a lot of his family, the Robertses, were over from that area, or they moved to that area, and how he ended up over here, I'm not quite sure. You never know why people do things or why they live where they live. But anyway, a salute to my great-grandpa Jonathan Roberts today. While I'm out here, I know my Uncle Lyle, he's a minister, the Believer's Joy Worship Center. We done a video on them a while back. I need to go over there and look and see how they've progressed on the church building over there. But this is their portion of this cemetery. He's a Shefferdeck. And he's got uncles and cousins that are buried in this little place. Now there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 people buried out here. But anyway, his cousin Frederick Shefferdeck was buried out here, and it was unmarked. So he went to Price Headstones here in Jacksonville, and they wanted, for just a small headstone, they wanted $700 or $800, if I remember correctly, or whatever. It was quite a bit, and about an 8 or 10 month waiting period to get it done. Because of COVID, I guess there was a short of marble in this part of the country. But anyway, he called me. I had gotten stones for my brother when he passed away last September. And prior to that, I had gotten a stone for my daughter who passed away back in the 70s. And she laid unmarked for a long time till I finally got a stone. But anyway, I found this company out in California that Dunn stones. And they do a really good job. Now, the one he got here and the one that the markers I got out at Eubanks, out there or whatever, they're laser done. And that means a laser just makes little dots. You'd call them pixels, I guess, or whatever is what you would call them if you know anything about computers. But they do a really good job. And I'll see if I can get kind of close on that to where you can see. But that's only a 8 by 12 stones, 4 inches deep. It's got a nice graphic on it with the names and the dates on it. But you can get those for less than or around $200. Now, the ones back here that you see back here or whatever, those stones now will run you $1,000 quickly today, or more, depending on where you get them. And it is not cheap to bury someone today and mark their graves. It's just not, I'll tell you, it just costs way too much money. But anyway, I found that company online, and they don't give me any, I don't have a sponsorship with them or anything else or whatever, but they're called the Headstone Guys. The Headstone Guys, they're out of California. And if you go to the headstoneguys.com, they've got a menu that you can go in and pick everything out, put the information in there. And they say 4 to 6 weeks to get the stones. Well, I know mine took almost 14 days to the day, 14 or 15 days. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. And like I say, my uncle was going to have to wait months to get those stones done at a much higher price. So if you've got a grave that needs to be marked and you're on a budget, I would highly recommend them. I'll even say this about them: they're very honest. When I paid them for my daughter's stone online, for some reason there was a double payment made. And actually, before I even noticed that it had been a double payment, they had refunded my money. So there are companies out there that would have just kept that money and waited to see if you was going to say anything about it. But they're honest, and I highly recommend them. Like I say, this cemetery's been here since the mid-30s. Well, it's been Dunn's Creek since the mid-30s. The first Wilkison graves were put out here, of course, prior to that. Now back here, we've got M. Francis and William Henry Rowell, and that's the ones I was talking about, that they are related. We have common ancestors back a few generations, but they are cousins several times removed, or at least he is and his wife. So you never know who you're going to find when you go out to different places. Now, this is Martha Eliza Wilkison. Now, she was born in 1838 and died in 1921. So, she was married to, I think his name was Daniel, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Daniel P. Wilkison, born in 1833 and died in 1906. So he was laid to rest here in 1906. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was his parents that originally owned this property out here, and I think maybe even his name was Daniel. They are buried out here somewhere, I'm going to assume in this area right here, but they are unmarked. Like I said, now over here is where my grandma Stafford is buried, and William Eli Stafford, and his wife Martha are buried here somewhere. Now, I'm going to assume this is, because this is where the Staffords are at, that he's buried here fairly close. Now, she died in 1913. Oh, so she actually died before her father did. So that leads me to believe even more so, being that she was buried here in 1913, that I would say that probably William Eli Stafford is probably buried either right here or up there. In fact, I may even be, there's enough room here between this and the ones down here or whatever. I may actually be standing on top of where him and Martha are buried. Now, his wife was a Roberts, and their mother, or her mother, anyway, was married into the Wilkison family. So here again, the Wilkisons were family by marriage. Now, this is a very unusual cemetery in the fact that most Christian cemeteries, is set up east and west. The graves usually face towards the east. But this cemetery, you've got some that are going kind of east and west, and some that are going north and south. And then you've got some over here that are kind of a diagonal. Now, the roads out here kind of zigzag around a little bit or whatever, but I'm going to say the direction I'm pointing in now, where these graves are over here in this corner, I think they're more likely to be pointing east than all the rest of them. But anyway, these graves all go in at least 3 different directions, and that's very unusual. Now, I have seen some cemeteries where you had them crisscrossed that were going in 2 directions, but I think this is the first one I've ever seen that the graves are actually in 3 different directions. So with that, I'm going to call it a day on Dunn Creek Cemetery. I appreciate you people out there watching my videos. Hope you find them a little bit interesting. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to take a look at it. Hopefully it's been a little bit informative about things. And I'm going to say it one more time. I say it a lot. Your ancestors are alive as long as you talk about them. And I didn't know actually until a few days ago. I was reading an article, and the saying that I've been saying for years or whatever actually comes from a quote from Ernest Hemingway that said, "Man dies 2 deaths. One is the physical death where they actually put you in the ground And the second death is the last time that your name is spoken. So with that, I'm going to ask you, like, subscribe. Don't cost you nothing to subscribe. Just kind of lets you know when I put a new video out there. Make a comment if you want to. Like I say, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day. And God bless you.